Hello Flosstube, my name is Laura and welcome to my channel, Loves Rubber Stamps and Needlecrafts. Today is January 1st of 2021. Yay, 2020 is over. Let's hope that 2021 is a lot better year than last year was. So today I thought I would come to you with a special video. I'm going to do my whip parade. I have enjoyed watching several of the whip parades that are already out there. I think it's a fun way to see the progress that you've made over the year or lack thereof in some of my projects. But it's kind of a fun way to just see how far you've come in your stitching over the last year. So currently I am sitting at 31 whips. So I will show you those. During 2020, I count 9 finishes, but it's actually 6 projects that I finished. One of the projects had 3 separate parts, but because my finishes were so low, I'm counting each part as a finish. So what I thought I would do is I thought I would share my finishes first, and then we'll go through my whips. And then I will talk about my plans for the new year and a couple of new starts that I have planned for January. So we'll go ahead and get started since we have quite a bit to go through. So like I said, I had 9 finishes total for the year. So the first project was my Jolly Happy Soul by Brenda Gervais. I actually got this one FFO'd. This is stitched on 40 count mallow, and I finished it into a little pillow. The backing is it's a gray velveteen from Dames of the Needle. I think it was Mayflower gray or something like that. But I love how it turned out. Super cute. These little cardinals are 1/1 stitching. I don't know if it's gonna focus. So that's one of my finishes. My next finish, this is an FFO also, and this is the one that I counted as 3 finishes because each little part was a separate chart. And this was a special release that we got from the Midwest Cross Stitch Retreat, the spring one. We didn't get to meet in person, so the project, the designer was supposed to be Kathy Haberman from Hands On Design. So she had sent us the kit and made a really good video on how to finish the charts. So this was our project. And this is called Language of Liberty by Hands On Design. And this is part of her banner year. And this actual design will be released sometime probably before 4th of July, I'm assuming, for this year. So this chart is not out to the public yet, but it will be later this year. So I'll show you a close-up of each one. So this was Liberty. And then Liberté. And then Libertad. And the only change I did to this one is I added a little bead for the eye of the eagle, and I changed his little feet and beak were supposed to be the green color up here, but I changed mine to just a yellow. So those were really fun to stitch. And then I have my notes down here so I know what my fabrics are. This was a finish I had originally done for an exchange for the Midwest Cross Stitch Retreat, but then we didn't go, so I haven't FFO'd it yet. So this is O is for Old Glory by Heartstring Samplery, and I stitched this on 25 count Stormy Night Lugana. Then my next finish was a Christmas ornament that I stitched for my brother and his wife, which I didn't get FFO'd. This is called Biker Santa. by Stony Creek, and it is just stitched on a 28 count white. I think it's a Monaco. It was in one of those ornament packs from 123 Stitch. And I did the flames on his bike in a silk floss, or those not silk, those satin flosses from DMC that are a real pain to stitch with. I used those, and I used treasure braid, petite treasure braid on the words and on his little bike. And the chrome is done with blending, like a blending floss. I can't remember the brand, but you get it through Stony Creek. A lot of their patterns call for it. I also used fuzzy stuff for his beard, so his beard is a little fuzzy and a little bit sparkly. So I thought he turned out really cute. I also added a bead for the holly. So what I would like to do is every year stitch my brothers and sisters a Christmas ornament, and then one for arch, or a couple for archery, couple for my kids, or like one each for my kids. And I like to stitch ornaments in honor of my grandparents every year. I didn't get them done this last year, so I got a lot of catching up to do this year. But I haven't FFO'd DJ and Ashley's ornament yet. I want to try to get all my siblings' ornaments done first, and then I'll FFO them. The next finish I had was Bra Snowman, and this was a Christmas ornament I made for my sister Leah and Rick, her husband. They live in Florida, so I wanted to do kind of tropical themed ornaments, and I thought this snowman was hilarious. It's from Stony Creek, and again I used their blending filament that they called for the water and the red on the present and the hat. And this is stitched on 28 count Blue Sky Monaco from Stony Creek. Then my next finish was Promise Me by Lizzie Kate. Let's see if I can find something white. This isn't going to be big enough, but... So I stitched this on 28 count, or no, 32 count lamb's wool linen. It's the called for. And I stitched that. I'm going to give it to my daughter once I get it framed for hopefully Christmas this coming year. And then my last finish was my ornament that I stitched for the Midwest Cross Stitch Retreat, the fall one, and the exchange was a Christmas ornament. I stitched Snow Penny by Teresa on 28 count Crystal Pompous from Picture This Plus. So since I gave that away in the exchange, I'll have to insert a picture of that finish here. So those were my finishes for the year. I was kind of a little bummed out when I only got 9. I did a lot better last year, and several of mine were pretty small finishes. So I like to stitch a lot of big projects, so sometimes I don't have a lot of finishes. So hopefully this year I can get some of my bigger ones knocked out. So okay, now we'll go ahead and I'll go through my whips. And these are going to be in no particular order. I just stacked them up, and we'll kind of go through them as they come up. And what I'll do for my whip parade is, if this was a project that was in my whip parade last year, I will insert a picture of where I was at the beginning of last year, if I've worked on it and made some progress. If I haven't worked on it all year, and there were actually a lot more than I thought, which is kind of a bummer too. I won't insert a picture since it won't have changed. So we'll go ahead and get started. And my first one is, I don't have a cover photo for it. It was a stitch along done by Durene Jones and Lakeside Needlecrafts called Fantasy Stitch Along. And I'm stitching this on a 32 count opal fairy dance by Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie. So I will insert a picture here of what the finished design will look like. And here is where I'm at currently. This is a big one. So I've got, on page 1, I've got the border done for page 1. And then I have 3 characters finished. I got the Pegasus, the little wizard, and a little witch. And this block I did change. There were a bunch of pumpkins, so I replaced the pumpkins with a cauldron, and the cauldron is a Durene Jones pattern too. It was in a magazine, so I just used her cauldron from that. And then I did turkey work for her hair, so it's fuzzy. I've never done turkey work before. That was Stony Creek uses it a lot on their witches, so that's how I learned how to do that. And I am trying to customize each block and make it a little different. This one I added beads, used some fuzzy, like fuzzy stuff, the satin DMC Krynic. This one I changed his robe to silks and used Krynic and Moe's Sail floss for the leaves. So I want to try to personalize each little character, so mine's a little bit different. So that is WIP number 1. And I have not worked on that at all since before last year. So I'm hoping to do better this year with my projects as far as getting more of them stitched on. My next WIP was Spring ABCs, and this is by Little House Needleworks. And this is stitched on 28 count coffee tea dyed Monaco. And I have not worked on this since my last WIP parade either. So here's where I'm at currently. I'm got down through M done. So I have made a little bit of a few changes. I added some ladybug to the hearts in these flowers, and in the tree I used hickory sticks. Otherwise it's all the called for colors otherwise. I'm hoping to get this one finished this year. I have the winter one done, and I'm in the process of FFOing my winter one so I can try to get it hung up on my wall before winter's over. And then I would like to have this one to swap out and then hurry up and bust out the summer and the fall ones. So try to put these away as I go. I tried to take most of them out so it wasn't as long of a video. My next one is a new start in 2020 for me, and I started this one for Stitch Mania, and it's Harvest Keeper by Plum Street Samplers. And here is where I am stitching this on a 40 count sampler gold from Color and Cotton. Sorry, I'm trying to get something kind of white to put behind it, so there we go. But I'm just using the called for colors. And this is in one of my project bags that I got from Kindred Stitcher. It's these cute little squirrels and sweaters. Her bags are so nice. Dropped my part of my Q-snap for my... Oh, this is my So Much to Love bag. That's what my Spring ABCs is in. Okay, my next whip is my Red Birds by Marie Barber. And this one I have made a lot of progress on. This is my focus whip that I have currently set for my rotation. So I try to work on it. I'm gonna keep it in my rotation until it's finished, and then I'll swap it out for another one, another focus whip. But my Red Birds is in this magazine, the November-December of 2011 issue. And this is what it will look like finished. And I'll insert a picture of where I was for my whip parade last year. And here is where I am currently. So I have finished. It's really hard to hold because it's so big. I basically have finished the middle and the left side. So all of that is finished. All I have left is the right side to do. Let me try to give you a close-up. And I'm stitching this on a 28 count lamb's wool Joblin, and I started this in 2017. So I'm stitching it in honor of my grandma and grandpa who passed away. And my plan is, once I get it finished, I would like to have it framed by Jill Rensel, since it's kind of a special piece. So, and this is in this project bag. It's really pretty. I believe I got this one from Goose on Etsy, I think. Okay, my next one is in this farm bag. And it is my Milady's Strawberries. And this was a new start for 2020. It was a Stitch Mania start. Sorry about that. Let me see if I can cut the glare. And this one, I had started it with the original colors, and they didn't show up on my fabric, so I had to frog it and start over using some fabrics that some floss that I chose, and I tried to stick to very similar to what the pattern called for because I like how it looked at the pattern. So here's where I got to, just part of the border. And this one I'm stitching on a 36 count Wren by Picture This Plus. My next one is also a new start for 2020, and that is my In the Berry Patch by All Through the Night. And I'm stitching this on 36 count vintage country mocha, and that's where I'm at. I've already stitched this one twice before. Once was for an exchange piece for the Midwest Cross Stitch Retreat, and then I've stitched it once for my mom, and now I'm stitching it for myself. And then I have another 2020 start, and this was is a stitch along by Autumn Lane Stitchery called Dark Queen of the Sea. And I'm behind right now because I haven't got a stitch on it at all for the December. It comes out once a month, and the December patterns I haven't got to do yet. But this is where I'm at currently. So I have 3, it started, I believe, in October. So I have October, no. It started in September because we've got 3 parts. So I have 3 parts finished. The first part was the 3 fish. The second part was, no, yeah. The second part was her stomach from here down. And then the November one was her arms and her top here and her. So December's that I haven't started is her face and her hair. And the reason why I haven't started it is I haven't had much stitching time in December, but also we got several options. There were, the designer did an amazing job. Like, he gave us 2 different face options that you can pick from, and then he had given us 2 different hair color schemes to choose from, and then he released an add-on pack which I purchased that had probably 7 or 8 more hair colors that you could choose. So I haven't really decided which ones I want to do yet, and plus I haven't had much stitching time. I know what face I want to do, but I have to figure out the hair. I am stitching this on a, let's see, where is it? Oh, it's over here. 32 count opal Into the Mystic, and it's by Color Cascade Fabrics, and it's an opal. And I don't have a cover sheet for this, so I will insert a picture of what she looks like with the December release. This is 2 of the hair color options that are in the add-on pack. These 2 are my 2 favorite, and I think I'm possibly going to choose one of those hair colors for mine. But the face that she has on the picture, that's the face I'm going to do. So I'll insert a picture of that here. And I also am trying to stay as current as I can with this. So hopefully in January I'll get more stitching time and get caught up for December's, and then also be able to do January's so I can stay caught up on that. Okay, and then another kind of new start. I had to go to the doctor one day, and I just wanted a little tiny kit to throw in my purse. So this is a free card kit that you get with some of those World of Cross Stitching magazines, or oh, this one was from Card Shop. But this is called Boo Follette Christmas, and it's hard to see the cross stitch version, but that's the design. And I just worked on this one day at the doctor, so that's as far as I am. And this is on just I think it's a 14 count Ada white. I'll probably finish it into a Christmas ornament, but I am not having very much fun stitching it because it's got a lot of fractionals and it's hard to do on the Ada. So I almost want to start it over on like a even weave. My next one is also a new start for 2020. And this one is my Mill Hill kit, Miranda. And I started this to work on during we have to have meetings for my work. And now since COVID, we are doing them on Zoom. So I started this project to work on during our meetings. So that's where I'm at. So that's my Zoom meeting project. And then I'll go through my Heaven and Earth designs that I work on at my work. I work overnight shifts, and we can bring in stuff to do in your downtime to help stay awake. So I have 4 Heaven and Earth designs that I take to work on. Last year, I only worked on 2 of my 4. I did get some really good progress on those 2. But this year I want to try to get back into a better rotation as far as getting to work on all 4 of them. So this is my first one, and this is one of the ones that I didn't work on at all last year. It's my Heaven's Little Angel. And the artist is Katerina Koukiotis. I probably didn't say that right. And here is where I'm at on this one. This one I'm stitching on 25 count white Lugana, and I'm doing it 2/1. And it's kind of bulky, so it's not my favorite, but it's what Heaven and Earth recommends. And I'm going to keep going on this one. I have a full page finish, and then I started a little bit in the next pages. But it has a lot of Krynic. Can you see the sparkle in it? It's really pretty. But like I need to get back to my rotations where I'm actually working on all of my work Heaven and Earth. So back to the fabric. My preferred count for Heaven and Earth right now is 28 count 1/1. And I'm going to stick to this 25 because this one doesn't have a lot of colors, so it won't be as big of a nightmare because there's not as much confetti. But some of those charts, like my max color, if I was doing it 25 count 2/1 full crosses, I wouldn't be able to do it. Your fingers would probably bleed because they would hurt so bad. So that's where I am on for that one. Then my next one, I also didn't work on this one at all last year. It's my Dreamer by Nadia Strelkina. This is the Max Colors version. And I was kind of happily surprised when I picked it up. The last time I remember working on it, I only had about 2 horizontal rows finished. So I had worked on it since I remember because I almost have page 1 finished. So that's really a good surprise. And here is that. So working on page 1, it's almost a page finish. And like I said, this one is the Max Colors, so there is a ton of color changes. Lots of confetti. I'm in the tree, so there's a lot of color changes. But I think it looks really good. And these blues down here are some of my favorite DMC colors. So I'll show you my backside because it's so messy because I have to change so much. So these next 2 Heaven and Earth that I take to work, these are the 2 that I really focused on this year. So my first one is New Girl 3 by Winnel. And this one is my oldest whip too. I started this in 2015 when I got back into cross stitching September of 2015. And this was the first project that I started when I came back to cross stitching. And since I worked on this since my last whip parade, I will insert a picture of where I was last year here. And here is where I got to. So I have got 6 pages fully complete, and then I started on the page below. So just working in her hair. I'm pretty excited because over here we start getting into like her forehead and her some of her face. So I did switch to a new size Q-snap. This is an 11 by 14, and I really love this size for the Heaven and Earth because I believe I'm going to be able to fit, since I'm stitching this on 28 count white Lugana 1/1, I will be able to get 15 pages on here before I'd have to move the Q-snap. So I love how that's coming out. This one I'm stitching for myself. And then my last Heaven and Earth that I take to work is the one I'm working on currently, and that is Dog Double Shelf by Randall Spangler. This one I'm stitching for my mom. And this is the one I've been working on lately. So I'll insert a picture of where I was for my whip parade last year here. And here's where I'm at now. So I've got page 1 and 2 finished, and I've started 3 and a little bit into 4, and then I've almost got this page finished. It comes down to about right here, and then I've worked down into the 3rd row, just because I'm working in this book, and it's pretty much a really good continuation of all the colors. So I'll probably just do that, finish. But that's where I'm at for this one. So those were the 2 that I've worked on throughout the year at work. So what I'm thinking about doing for my rotation this year is going back to, I used to swap every week, but sometimes I wouldn't get a lot of progress. So then my work week rotations, I work 5 days, I have a couple days off, and then 6 days and get 3 days off. So I was thinking about swapping every 2-week work rotation. So hopefully I would get a little more progress on each one. I won't get significant progress on any one of them, but at least I'll touch all of them. So those were my work whips, and now let's see. My other Heaven and Earth that I work on is my King Coda Storyteller Max Colors, and this is a supersized version. So because this is so big, I have it on my Mark II floor stand, so I'll have to just insert pictures. So this one I have in my rotation to work on it fairly frequently, because if I don't, it's so giant, I'll never get it done. So I will insert a picture of where I was last year here. And now I'll insert a picture of where I'm at currently. So I have got some page finishes, and like I said, that's in my current rotation, which I'll go over that briefly at my rotation and my plans. So let's see. Now I have, I think the rest of my whips are on like scroll frames, so let me get started with those. My first one is from, I actually have two from this. This is my Cross Stitch Safari by Jayne Netley Mayhew book. And my first project in here is called Giants of the Plains, and it's my elephants. And sadly, I didn't work on this at all last year, which is kind of a bummer. So here is where I'm at. I started this in 2017, and it's stitched on 28 count Summer Clouds by Stony Creek. I love Jayne Netley Mayhew's art. She they look so realistic, and there's no back stitch or anything, so that's awesome. And then my current piece that I'm working on is a new start, and I am working on this one currently. So it is also from Safari, and it's called Queen of Cats, and it's this pretty leopard. And I just started this, and I'm doing it on a 16 count fabric flare fabric called African Sunset. So there is my start. And this like in the grass here, it's major confetti and color changes, so it's kind of slow going right now until I get out of that section, but I think it's going to look amazing on this fabric. And I've only worked on this for about 4 hours, so I have about 8 hours left to work on this before I'll switch projects. I try to work on, in my rotation, my pieces for 12 hours before I switch. So I'll keep working on that one until I get, like I said, about another 8 hours in. My next whip is a kit called Eat My Dust by Candamar Designs. It's a gold collection kit. I started this in 2016 for Stitch Mania, and I'm just stitching this on the 16 count white ivory Ada that came in the kit. And I did work on this last year, so I'll insert a picture of where I was for my last whip parade here. And I got quite a bit done. I have it on a scroll rod, but what I did is I unrolled it so you could see hopefully the whole thing. So this is where I'm at, and I can't see if you can see it, but I got under his chin area, and then what I did is I worked my way from his nose up, and then I worked my way over to the corner, and then I wanted to start from the left corner and go down, because I didn't know how much border they gave you, so I wanted to make sure I had enough border. So I just started in the middle and then worked my way out to the outside. And then my next whip is, I don't have a cover photo for it, so I'll have to insert a picture of what it will look like finished here. It is called The Fortunate Traveler by Teresa Wentzler, and I'm stitching this on 28 count cream cashel linen. And this is another one that I don't think that I worked on it last year. If I did, you wouldn't really be able to tell a difference because I'm in the border And I believe that I've gotten the last color green put in there, and then I'm gonna start getting ready to work down in this border. So if I did work on this, all I did was maybe add a little bit more green in there, so you wouldn't be able to tell a difference really. I love Teresa Wentzler's dragons. I wish, you know, she retired all of her dragon patterns because for her religious beliefs, but they're beautiful designs, and there's several that I have of hers that I want to stitch. So I think the next one I want to start is called The Guardian. It's really pretty. One at a time though, right? My next one is, I don't have a color printout, so I'll insert a picture of the colored design here. And this is a stocking called Shih Tzu for Christmas by Donna Gelsinger, charted by Heaven and Earth. And I didn't get to work on this at all last year. I started this for, I thought it maybe it was for Stitch Mania, but it wasn't. I'm stitching it on a 20 count white 20 count white Ada. And that's all the farther I got. I really love how my stitches look on this 20 count white Ada. So I'm gonna probably stitch all my stockings on that. I want to stitch stockings for this one. This one will be for my daughter, but I want to stitch our family all stocking. And then someday, if I ever get ours done, then I would like to make my other family members, brothers and sisters and nieces and nephews and stuff, also ornament or stockings, but that might be a little too ambitious. I don't know. My next whip is my first memorabilia that I ever started, called Raven Queen. And I started this for Stitch Mania in 2019. So it was a new start last year. And here is where I'm at. I only worked on it for pretty much Stitch Mania. So this is being stitched on 32 count Carpe Noctem from Sunny Dyes Fabrics. And I started it, so I wanted the tower to be over the moon. So I started it there so I could center that tower. I'm excited to work on this one again. I really like how it looks on that fabric. So, and then this is a 2020 start for me. It is Trick or Treat by Lena Lawson Needle Arts, and the artwork is by Pascal Moguru. And here's where I'm at. Just have his pants, and this is being stitched on a 28 count limited edition fabric of the month from Crafty Kitten. It was the September 2016 one. And there's a ton of color changes in this one too. So it's kind of a slow stitch. And then my next one is Into the Jungle from Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. This was a stitch along, and I started this in 2018 when the stitch along started, and I didn't work on it at all last year. So all I have done is the cute little sloth. And when they were advertising the Stitch Along, that's the block they kept showing, was this really cute sloth. And I fell in love with the sloth, and that's what I wanted to stitch really bad. So now that I've stitched him, then I haven't really worked on it since. So this is on a 28 count limited edition Crafty Kitten Fabric of the Month also. Did I say Crafty Kitten? Yeah. That's right, Crafty Kitten Fabrics. And this was her July 2016 fabric. Her fabrics are really beautiful. I really like them. They take a while to get because she's in the UK, but they're gorgeous colors. And, whoops, a couple of, oh, I guess my next one is from Paula Vaughan's Quilts for All Seasons book, and the one I'm doing is my page fell out, but it's the November Quilt. And I have not worked on this one last year, and I started it in 2016, so it's an old one. And this one is being stitched on the recommended fabric. It's a 32 count cream Belfast. Here's where I am. I need to get some just white paper so it doesn't show through. So I'm working on the quilt, and I've got all the frames for the quilt done now, which all of those are fractionals, so it takes quite a while. There's a lot of fractionals in the quilt designs. So the quilt will be the longest part, and then once I get that done, the rest should be really fast because it's just cross stitch, and a lot of the grass and around the wagon and stuff is all half stitches. So once I get this quilt done, it shouldn't take too long at all. I'm kind of thinking that when I get my Redbirds piece, that this one might be my next focus whip since it's one of my older ones. I want to try to get those finished. But I'll see what my fancy decides to stitch for my next focus piece once I get my Redbirds done. So my next whip, kind of have them stacked different places. This one is called Fresh Eggs Farm by Hands On Design and Priscilla Blain. And I started the big pattern. And this is another one that I didn't get to work on last year. I started it for, in 2018 for Stitch Mania. And this one is being stitched on a 32 count Belfast linen, and it's one that I hand dyed myself in chalkboard. And this is all the farther I've gotten. Little chicken with some fence. So I'm hoping to get to work on this one this year. I want to stitch basically everything that Priscilla designs, so I've got a lot of her patterns that I need to get done. And several of her series and like these farms, I already have the piece that I'm going to FFO it on to hang on my walls and then just swap out the pieces. So I need to get them done so I can get them up and do that. My next one, I actually have two from this magazine that I've got going. These are both new starts for 2020, and it's from the World of Cross Stitching magazine. The first design that I'm doing is this bear on the cover. I call it Lantern Bear, but he's really called Cozy Winter Friends. And I'm stitching this on a 16 count white Aida. And here is where I am. Just got a little bit of trim on his coat and kind of started some of the white in the lantern. needle minder is sticking to my desk. And the next one that I started in here was the Joan Elliott 12 Days of Christmas. And this one I'm stitching on a 28 count white opal Lugana. And this is where I'm at currently. So I'm going to frog out all this gold that I did around here and this. I tried to use something from my stash called Nordic Gold blending filament. This, because I was just trying to use something I had in my stash, but this stuff is kind of a nightmare to stitch with because the fibers start to break, and then it almost gets very bouncy, or like a bungee cord almost. So it's really a pain to stitch with it, that I'm finding in my project. So I bought some Petite Treasure braid, and I'm going to swap this out. So I'm going to frog the gold that I've got done, and then do the gold with Petite Treasure braid. This looks really nice, but maybe I'll try using it more on like small ornaments or stuff. That design, all of the frames and stuff have that gold, so it would be a giant pain to try, and it's got way too much to fight with it that whole time. So I'm going to change it out. My next whip is another one that I didn't get to work on, and it is my winter, Seasons in Chalk Winter by Hands On Design and Priscilla Blain. And this is where I'm at on that one. This one I'm stitching on 32 count slate from Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie, which that's the recommended fabric. And again, I want to stitch this whole series from Priscilla and Hands On Design. I have my piece for it. I just got to get them stitched. That's the first one I've started, so I've got all of the seasons to go. And my next one is from Sampler Stories. It's called Samplers and Stories, called Herbal Grimoire. And I started this in 2018 for Stitch Mania, and I didn't get to work on this one last year either. So this is all I've got done. And this is on a 40 count mummy wraps from Ship's Manor. I absolutely love this fabric for those vintage Halloween. And this would look good for like primitive. It's like one of my favorite fabrics. So I really would like to get that one done this year. Say that about all my projects, don't I? If only I could stitch faster. My next one is one that I started in 2018 as well, and another one that I didn't work on at all last year. Sorry for the crinkle on that one. And it is in my Stony Creek book from August of 2007. And it is this one called Believe Snowman. And literally all I've got done is just some of the top border. And I'm stitching this on a 28 count white opal Lugana. Now I had seen two of these stitched up at our Midwest Cross Stitch Retreat. They are beautiful when they're stitched. You just got to get it stitched. almost done. My next one was a new start for last year. I decided to start this one when this is my pandemic start. And it's Jesus by Vervaco. It's a kit. This was a gift for my mom. I started it around Easter, right after a pandemic started with COVID. Thought it was appropriate, and be a nice whip for if you're having a hard day or struggling. Maybe pull Jesus out and stitch on him for a while. This is all the farther I've gotten so far. This way. So some of his face, I got his nose and some of his cheek, and kind of around where his eyes will go. I believe this is my last whip. This one is Cottage of the Month from Country Cottage Needleworks. This is the March one. I was trying to figure out where I wrote it down. There it is. I started this in 2020 for, I don't think it was Stitch Mania. I think it was Stitch Mania. Maybe not. Anyway, here's where I'm at. And I'm stitching all of these on a 28 count lamb's wool linen. I have January and February done, so now I'm working on March, and I'm just doing them in order of the months, since I did pick some of my own colors for the house. I'm using a couple of Color and Cotton colors, and I just picked ones that were similar to what the pattern called for. So those are all of my whips that I have currently. So quickly we'll go ahead and talk about my plans for 2021. Oh, that looks horrible. I do want to stick to my rotation as much as possible. Quickly, this is my rotation that I use. I do, on my King Coda piece, I do 2 horizontal rows on my pattern. So I'll go from King Coda, and then I do a random draw, which I have all of my whips and opportunities for new starts in here. So my last draw was this. I had to use one of my cross stitch books, and I had to pick a new start from one of my books. So that was Queen of Cats, the leopard. That's why I started that one. So then when it's random draw time, I just pick one out of here, and that's the one I work on for that rotation. And then I do King Coda again, then my focus whip, which is my red birds right now until that's finished. Then King Coda again. And then this one, I'm going to alternate between doing a Christmas ornament. Then the next time through, I'll do a Halloween ornament. And then the next time through, I will work on one of our family stockings. And then I'll do another round on King Coda. And then I added this new category called Seasonal Focus Whip. And these are those like little, I like to have little seasonal pieces out. So like, for example, Frosty, the Jolly Happy Soul pillow that I did, the little one by Brenda Gervais, that's kind of what I'm thinking for these. So maybe some from like Priscilla Blain, like her little cups and things like that. I want kind of smaller ones. So, or even like my winter piece from Seasons and Chalk, I could stick that in here and just keep it in there until it's finished. But that's what I'm kind of considering my seasonal focus whip. So I'll pick one of those, and just like my focus whip, it'll stay in that rotation until it's finished. Since I do King Coda each of these times, it gives me a page finish every time I make it through my rotation. So I would like to stick to this as much as I can, so I can get progress on my big ones, and also with these focus whips be able to start knocking some finishes out. And I want to get like ornaments and my stockings worked on. So that's kind of my premise for my rotation. This year I'm going to try to use, I bought this last year, kind of towards the end of the year. This was a planner that Stitch, she does Flosstube, and she also runs the, it's called Magazine Monthly Challenge on Facebook with a friend of hers, Robin, and Robin's Flosstube is Bird's Eye Stitches. Carolyn from Stitch uses this planner, and when she showed it, I bought one to try using. So I thought I would try using it starting in 2021, and then I'll go back and use the 2020 side like maybe next year. Just change the dates on the calendar. So it's got kind of a big writing area, which I like. So I thought like I would just jot down what I work on each day. And then on the notes, I put some of the challenges that I would like to do. For the challenges that I want to participate in, I want to do Whip Go. That is done by Jessie Marie Does Stuff. She has a Facebook group. And so I made my Whip Go board, which is right here. And she calls 2 numbers a month, and then those numbers, you work on the whip and set your own goals for finishing. So I had went through and put a lot of my whips in there and the goals that I want to reach through the year. The way I plan on doing Whip Go is I'm going to highlight the ones that are called, and just when they come up in my rotation, if I complete my goal, the ones that are called, then I'll get to mark it off. But I'm just going to kind of use this as they come up in my rotation. So I won't follow the monthly. And speaking of Jessie Marie Does Stuff, I saw very sad news on her Instagram that she posted on the 31st that she had to put her bulldog Thor down. He was suffering from cancer and had really declined, and so they had to put him to sleep. So that's really sad. I know it's a heartbreaking decision to have to make as a pet parent, so my heart goes out to her and her husband for Thor. So it's gonna make me cry. So we'll go ahead and continue on with my plans. So the next ones I want to work on from the 24 Hours of Cross Stitch. There's a 24 Hours of Cross Stitch Facebook group. And I want to do every month they do an acrostic, which I really like the acrostics. And 4 times a year they do like a marathon, 24 hours marathon. So I just, in my notes, after each month, there's a couple of notes pages in here. So I just like taped in the acrostic for the 24 hours. This is the one I'm doing. You can get the acrostics in the Facebook group. So I just wrote down my whips, and then I also would like to do in the Magazine Monthly Challenge group, they also have an acrostic every month. The theme for the month, you have to pick a magazine, either like a magazine New Start or Whip from a magazine, and then the actual acrostic you can do with any of your whips or anything. So I want to do those, and then seems like a lot of challenges, huh? Magazine Monthly Challenge is also doing it's called Baringo for January. It's a pop-up challenge, so they won't do this every month, but you make a bingo board, you had to have it made and in your album by December 31st. So I just chose, they gave you prompts on like your oldest whip, newest whip, one you dread, like things like that. So you had to go through and pick your whips, and then I just used random number generator to pick my numbers, and then wrote down my whips in there. So this one, they do have a couple of prizes if you make bingos or blackout. So you have to have this done by January 31st. So what I was going to do is, what I'm thinking is my work schedule, I work 11 at night till 7 in the morning. So I don't get a stitch every night, like before I go to work. That's why on my rotations, I do an hour, like 12 hours, because I don't get a stitch every day. So what I was thinking is for the bingo challenge and like the acrostic challenges that I want to participate in, when I get off work at 7, I like to try to stay up for at least a couple of hours to give the dogs time to be up, have their breakfast, go potty a couple of times, and kind of be up, because my dog Teddy, he sleeps with me. So he will have just slept all night with my son, and then when I get home, you know, he eats his breakfast and stuff, and then he sleeps all day with me when I'm sleeping. So I try to stay up for a couple hours in the morning. So I thought that that couple hours that I'm staying up, I'll stay off of my phone and just do my challenge, my bingo pieces and my acrostics in those 2 hours. The Baringo board, you only have to do 100 stitches or stitch for 1 hour to be able to complete that block. There are 2 blocks in there that you have to stitch longer. One's a 2 hour and one's 5 hours. So I would just do those over a couple of days. So the same thing with my acrostics. When I do those, I'm thinking about just my goal. You get to set your own goals. So I'll just set like a 2 hour goal for those in the mornings. So a couple other challenges that I would like to participate in. Full Coverage Fanatics on Facebook. They have a group. The 2 challenges I would like to participate in, they have a 21,000 in 2021 challenge. It's where you pick one of your full coverage pieces and try to get 21,000 stitches on it. And for that one, I chose my King Coda, since I'm going to work on that pretty regularly. And I did their 20,000 in 2020 last year with King Coda, and I only got about 10,000 stitches, just under 10,000. So hopefully this year I'll do better. They also have another challenge that I wanted to try doing. It's called Stitch Around Ireland, and you get this printout from their Facebook group. And basically it's to go from town to town in Ireland, like through the whole country. And anyway, they have 3 levels: easy, hard, or crazy. So you choose whichever level you want. I was thinking about doing the hard one, and you pick a full coverage piece and you have to do that many stitches on it. So I thought for my full coverages, I would just use a variety of my full coverage as I rotate them in and out. So like the first one, I have to do 240 stitches on it. So you have to make, in the Facebook group, you make an album on the event, or like a comment on the event, and then you would post pictures of your starting and stopping points for each leg. So I thought I would just do that and see how far I get over the year. Let's see. There's also a new Facebook group that just started called 21 Halloween Projects in 2021. So I would like to participate in that because I love Halloween, and there's like, I want to do the Halloween ornaments, and there's several Halloween designs I want to do. So the premise for that one is to try to finish 21 Halloween projects in 2021. I don't know if I'll get 21 fully finished, but I might get 21 started. I mean, that would be fun too. So, and then there's another one put on, it's just an Instagroup stitch along, Instagroup, what is that? Instagram stitch along, done by Caroling55, Carol on Instagram. If you don't follow her on there, you really should. She does gorgeous Christmas ornaments, and her finishing is unbelievably beautiful. So she was just, since her Christmas ornaments are so popular, she just challenged everybody to try to complete 12 Christmas ornaments in 2021. So one a month. So I'm going to try to do that and just stitch along with that one. And then I want to try to do Stitch from Stash again this year. I always try it after the new year, especially after Christmas. I always try it, and then I'm really good for 3 or 4 months, and then I fall off my wagon and start buying everything. So, but it gives me at least, you know, usually 3 or 4 months of me behaving myself and saving a little money, since I really shouldn't have to buy anything for the rest of my life, other than maybe some floss. But, so I'm going to try to do that. And another goal I have this year is I want to organize my craft room. It's a disaster most of the time, just because I have so much stuff and not a lot of storage options. So I want to try to organize that, and hopefully make a video showing my craft room and kind of how I store certain things related to cross stitch, mostly for this channel. So let's see. And then lastly, due to the Baringo challenge and stuff, there was a couple of prompts where you have to have some new starts. So I thought I would just share the ones that I've picked out for those prompts while we're here. So the first one I want to start is Winter Rose Manor from Brenda Gervais with I Needle and Thread. And this will be my New Year New Start piece. I probably won't get it started today, but that's the one I want to start for the new year. And I'm going to stitch it on this. All my threads are in here. I don't want them to fall out. I'm going to stitch it on this piece of 36 count light hazelnut from X Jude Designs, using all the called for flosses. And this bag I got from Cricklewood Crossings on Etsy. Let me try to shove this back in my bag here. So that's one new start I want to get going. And another one was to start a new magazine piece for not your January theme piece, but just another one. So out of this Stony Creek magazine, it's Winter 2014. I want to start there's a lot of designs in this one I want to stitch, but one that I really love is this snowman called Back Again Someday, and I think it's just sweet. So I'm going to start that one. I want to start that one. And I'm going to stitch it on leftover piece of the Summer Clouds from Stony Creek Fabrics. It's not a very big piece, and it's adorable. And I just shoved it in this project bag that I made. It's an Easter one. And it's just got a glittery purple fabric on the inside. I'm not very good at making project bags yet. I'm still learning. But they zip and work and hold a project, so. And then my last new start, this is going to be my January theme for Magazine Monthly Challenge. And this is from Stony Creek, also the Winter 2020, and it's this design on the cover called Believe Fairy. And I picked this for my January theme because of the saying, believe in miracles. And hopefully we get this pandemic over and 2021 looks up and maybe we'll have a few miracles this year. And I'm going to stitch this on a hand-dyed gel blend from Color and Cotton called Lima. Oops. Oh, here's that, and then it calls for Glisten Gloss. That's those filaments I was talking about in my bra snowman. And it's Glisten Gloss is what it's called. And my biker Santa uses some Glisten Gloss. So, and then probably my next, for the Halloween challenge, probably the next ornament I'll start is my Hocus Pocus Trilogy one, Muriel. She'd be the last one I need to stitch. So I don't know when I'll start her, but that's probably the next Halloween ornament I'll start. And then for my bigger Halloween piece, for that challenge, I thought I would work on my Trick or Treat that's already a whip and try to get that done. So, and then probably my next Christmas ornament, I didn't pull it out, but I'll probably, since I have one for my brother DJ and one for my sister Leah, going in order, I'll probably start my brother Dustin's. And the one I picked out for him is from Lizzie Kate, and it's called, I think it's called Plaid Tidings. It's a little dog with a little plaid outfit on. My brother Dustin has 5 labs, so I thought that would be a good one for their family. So that is all I have for my Whip Parade and plans for 2021. I hope everybody stays healthy and in your family, and I hope that you get lots of stitching time. For me this year, my work schedule is going to be changing a little bit for a while, starting in the middle of February until probably April, end of April-ish. I'm going to be training some new employees, so I have to switch shifts. I'll be working afternoon shift instead of my overnight, so I probably won't get as much stitching. I know I won't get any stitching time at work for that, so hopefully I'll get more time at home then. So that's all I have for you. So thanks for stopping by, and I hope that you found some projects that I'm working on to add to your wish list, or if you're stitching on any of them, feel free to let me know, and so I can see where you're at on them. So have a good day, all. Happy stitching. Bye.